Welcome, everyone. My name is Marquessa Petway. I'm a business reinvention expert in New York City. I'm also a columnist for Speaker Magazine, and I am doing a feature on the path to celebrity speaking. And today I have the privilege of interviewing someone that everybody knows in the speaking industry, Dr. Alan Weiss. I looked at his introduction. It's so long. I definitely think you should go to alanweiss.com. And his time is so precious. I just want to jump in to his journey. But I will tell you this. If you have not read the book, $1 Million Consulting, something's wrong with you. He wrote it. He created it. So if you want to make $1 million in this industry, or frankly in any industry as a consultant, this is the guy. So first of all, thank you for meeting with us and sharing your $1 million expertise. I'd like to know, since this is all about creating that celebrity brand, creating that celebrity path, how did you start in this industry?
Well, Marquess, I started out of desperation. I was fired in 1985 or 6, whatever it was. And I had to make my mark on my own. I decided I'd never work for anybody again who could fire me. So I had to make my mark on my own. There were 400,000 consultants out there. And I decided that you have to go with your strengths. And my strengths are writing and speaking. I can write and I can speak. So I wrote and spoke. And I started speaking for free or for $700 or whatever it took to get in front of the audiences I wanted to be in front of. And because of that, I was able to gather the kind of business I needed, which made me more attractive as a speaker. And so this sort of perpetuated itself.
Wow. Now, there are a lot of folks that go into the speaking industry and they're thinking, okay, I got to speak and write. But speakers are known for struggling a bit, especially in the early years. Why was your path different?
Because I wasn't insecure. Most speakers are insecure. They're worried about whether people like them. They're worried about their evaluation sheets. They're worried about whether people subscribe or unsubscribe to their newsletters. The point is, I found out, one of the books I wrote was $1 Million Speaking. There are 3 kinds of speakers. There's the speaker who is self-centered. And that's the speaker who has to tell you a certain story, who has to laugh at a certain point. There's a speaker who's audience-centered, and they want the standing ovation, and they want the high evaluations on the smile sheets. I am buyer-centered. I want my buyer to be happy because only the buyer can rehire me. Now, there might be audience members who become buyers, fair enough, but I'll tell you something. If you get consistently high evaluation sheets, you're doing something wrong. If you're not ticking people off, if you're not provoking them, irritating them, annoying them, which I happen to be particularly good at, you're not doing your job.
Wow. So wait a minute, back up a second, because you're known as I can't even say the word, contrarian, and you're known if someone goes left, you go right, which I admire about you. You have no idea. But you're saying that if a lot of folks like you in your audience, that's not a good thing. Can you sort of explain that?
That means you're teaching to the sheets. Excuse me. It means you're speaking to the sheets. It means that you're trying to get a high evaluation because you're trying to please some meeting planner or some human resource person or some learning and development person. Those aren't our buyers. Our buyers are executives. Most speakers don't make much money because they're being hired by people who don't have much money. So you have to ignore these low-level people who put a premium on whether the audience likes you. Our profession is not about affection. If you want affection, get a dog. Our profession is about respect.
Wow, that's huge. Now, you've done something different. Everyone knows who you are. Now, granted, I feel like every speaker has a hook. Would you say your hook is writing your books, or is your hook really being known well in the consulting area? What is your hook? Because that hook led to your celebrity.
Yeah, that's a really excellent question. And it can be confusing. So the simple answer is this. There are a dozen of us who own a niche, a segment. So Marshall Goldsmith owns coaching, Seth Godin owns creativity, Marcus Buckingham owns self-development, and so forth. I own boutique consulting. And so as you said earlier, if you don't know who I am, you're kidding around. Now, you might hate me. You might think I'm arrogant. You might say he's terrible. But you have to know who I am if you are in boutique consulting. If you're a coach and you don't know Marshall Goldsmith, there's something wrong with you. And so the idea is not only to write the books, and I've written 64 of them. My newest is $1 Million Maverick. But to put IP, intellectual property, into the public forum every week. And you have to be an expert and convey the expertise. So I do it through books, I do it through speaking, I do it through coaching. Some people do it in a variety of other ways, and that's fine. But unless you're constantly producing ideas and expertise, then you're not a thought leader. Then you don't own anything.
So in other words, when we just talked about this at the CSP Summit, you have a way, Alan, of staying relevant, of staying in the mix. You also have a power team behind you that makes sure that you're out there on those social media platforms that you probably don't care about so much.
What power team is that? You talking about?
Well, I remember at one of our most recent speaker conferences, had to be about 3 years ago or so. It was someone, I don't know if it was your website guy or something that was behind you. I just remember that. I don't know if he's still with you, but I just remember you hired the right people.
Well, I have no staff, zero.
Get out of here.
I have no staff. I never have. For 30 years, I've never had a staff. My wife, is vice president of the company, which means she keeps my ego in check, basically. And my dog is in charge. My dogs are in charge of security. I've never had a staff. I parcel things out. I subcontract. But I work with good people. You know why, though? Because good people want to work with me. Mm-hmm. And when you are an acknowledged expert, people will come to you. They want to work with you. They want part of that. So again, it's a nice self-perpetuating dynamic you create.
Now, here, as we go into celebrity world, because there's some folks that are celebrities and they become speakers, and there's some folks like you that are speakers and become celebrities. What do you think it was? Because we have a lot of NSA members with a lot of books. What was it that was different about you, Dr. Alan Weiss, that helped you get to that celebrity level where everyone knows about you all over the world?
Well, I would debate the word celebrity just like I debate research with my books. I think it's too grand a phrase. If you look at true celebrities, the sports coaches and the entertainers and the stars, they can command any fee they want because they're unique. An ex-politician or a present politician. But there are some of us who are at the highest fee level of what I call non-celebrity speakers, true non-celebrity speakers. People know me all over the world in consulting. They don't know me all over the world if they're not in consulting. So the difference is that from when I entered NSA in 1986, there were some of us who could make a decent living just doing keynote speaking. You really can't do that anymore. You have to do other things. At least you can't have a 7-figure income anymore. So I think what made the difference is I was in the public view in my specialty. And I stayed relevant because I kept writing books and I kept producing articles and I kept speaking and I kept consulting and I kept my brand in front of people. I call it shameless self-promotion. I actually do programs on it.
And you know what? That's an important question. Oftentimes we're taught, do not over-promote. You seem as if you have an ego or you're full of yourself, just in general, not you specifically. But I love that you said shameless promoting. Is there a tip or just one of your big statements to stop people from being afraid to promote?
Well, I'll tell you what's in my new book, $1 Million Maverick, is that, and there's shameless promotion right there, is that no one I know, I've worked with the strongest CEOs, the largest companies in the world. Today I work with the best global entrepreneurs in the world. I have people like James Carville and Dan Gilbert at my sessions as guests. And I've never heard anyone ever ask for a humble consultant or a humble speaker or a humble coach. That's a lot of crap. People want power. They want strength. Powerful people rejoice in other powerful people. And so we have this interesting paradox in NSA where we wear different color name tags and 27 initials after our names, and we create these elitisms, yet we tell people, don't self-promote. That's ridiculous.
Wow. Oh, that's what I love about you. You're so direct and straight. Now, you said it takes time. Something interesting about the word celebrity. To some, it means fame and fortune, which, is rather nice. But in the context of this interview, it's about impact. You're able to reach more people. Media cares about what you have to say. You're able to get into certain circles. Maybe a major company will say, oh, yeah, we'll bring you in because of who you are. The speakers that are out there that are watching this at all different levels, what would be your advice to them when it comes to building that celebrity brand path? And I really hesitate to say brand because anybody can build a celebrity brand, but to really make a big name for yourself so you can have a bigger impact, what would you say is a way to do that?
Well, let's take a real look at what we're talking about here. If we take the word celebrity out of this, because There's too much. There are too many self-appointed celebrities in the speaking world. You know, I mean, that's something that should be bestowed on you, not something you take. But if you take a look at brand, what is a brand? A brand is how people think about you when you're not there. A brand is a uniform representation of quality. That's what a brand is. And so consequently, if you want to create that kind of status, if you want to create that kind of impact, you have to provide a consistently good and new job and ideas and thinking wherever you go. And there are too many people in speaking who are derivative. You know, you see something and then you see another 27 people do it. The most extraordinary example was chicken soup for the soul, where then you had, you know, a turkey nuggets for the kidney and all this kind of stuff coming out and people trying to copy that. You can't copy it because you'll always be derivative. I've seen people on stage doing things that are 20 years old. So you have to come out with new ideas. You can't be afraid to fail, and you have to be acknowledged by others to be a thought leader. So if you want to create that kind of brand, you have to have those kinds of ideas, and you cannot be hesitant to represent them to people. That's why I think humility is silly in this regard. You have to get out there. Look, here's the difference, Marquesa. There's a difference between affirming and declaring. If you and I are both in Venice, where I just was, and I say to you while we're there, you know, this is a beautiful city, and you say, yes, it is, I've simply affirmed something we already know. But if you've never been to Venice, and I come back and I say to you, Venice is the most beautiful city in Italy, I'm declaring something as an expert. And that's what experts do. They declare what's true, they make predictions, and they tell people what the story is. They don't try to gain consensus. They tell you what the story is.
Oh, I love that. Now, speaking of Venice and Bentleys and all sorts of things, one thing I've always admired about you, Alan, is that you're not shy about showing your world. I understand you stay at the best hotels, and this is part of your brand. Now, there are some out there that may say, oh, it's okay that you're wealthy, but you don't need to show that off. But I frankly like that you do, because I feel like you send a message to folks that to say, not only do I make money, but I can prove it. Can you just sort of share your thought behind that? What made you comfortable enough to share with people your lifestyle?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because number one, you can't help a whole lot of people unless some people are upset. And so you can't be vanilla. So in order to show people what really works and what's good, some people will resist and they'll dig in their heels, and that's a sign that you're improving, that you're helping others improve. The second thing is that for the last 5 or 8 years, I have not been helping people to market better or to grow their business better. I've been helping people to understand how to live. And my practice has changed to embrace more than just consulting and coaching and so forth. I've been showing people how to live. So I was in Venice because a select group of people, 10 people and their spouses, join me in an exotic spot each year for that kind of experience. I go to Palm Beach in Florida once a year for my Thought Leadership Conference, and so on and so forth. So I show people how to live, and that leads me to the third thing. This is not about money. Wealth is discretionary time. So my ability to go where I want, when I want, is great wealth. Money is just fuel. So some people might be perfectly happy and wealthy, making $400,000 a year or $800,000 a year or $3 million a year. I don't know. I could certainly make a lot more money than I do, but I choose not to, because I work 20 hours a week right now. And I see a lot of people eroding their wealth, their discretionary time, by trying to make money. And that's sick. So the question is, how do you get comfortable in your own skin? I'm leading the lifestyle I want to lead. I'm supporting my loved ones. I'm contributing to society. I'm very philanthropic. And I don't apologize to anybody. You don't like my cars. You don't like how I live. Don't do it. I don't care. You don't like my newsletters? Unsubscribe. It makes no difference to me. Don't read my books. You know something?
Wow.
People are watching me, not you.
I love it. I love it. You are known as a $1 million consultant for a reason. And one of the things I've always heard, being in this industry more than 10 years, as well as practice, and a lot of this comes from you, Alan. You've certainly influenced me and so many of our colleagues. You're all about creating the multiple income streams. And let's face it, if you're going to be in a celebrity space, you've got to earn the money. What are your tips for making that happen? For example, consulting, that can take a lot of time. So some speakers tend to avoid the consulting arena because in their minds, I just want to get in front of an audience and speak. I don't want to work with one company that's going to make me feel like I have an employer. When it comes to multiple income streams, what's your take on that? More specifically, consulting.
You know, I'm probably one of the relatively few people who could actually book, 40 keynotes a year at healthy, 5 figures, but it would bore me out of my gourd. I mean, my God, who wants to do that? You know, show up, get on, dance on stage, get up. The point is this, there are some misconceptions here. The key is to reduce labor intensity. Now, in consulting, the most lucrative, non-labor intensive interaction is a retainer. So you're on a retainer for $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 a month, and you're available if somebody wants to call you. And that's as simple as that. So that's extremely lucrative, and it's actually less labor intense than getting up and delivering a speech. This passive income, which a lot of us make through subscription services, videos, audios, print, and so forth. There are special events you can do. You know, I'd rather do a special event a couple of times a year at, you know, $15,000 a person and have 25 people in the room, 35 people in the room, than go out and consistently speak. So, you know, to each his or her own. But we have so many opportunities to provide value that we'd be silly not to consider them all. And my final comment here before I forget it is this. What we should all focus on is how we provide value, not how we make money. There are a lot of people, you know, who they're afraid to make a sales call, afraid to make a call for referral. They freeze when they go into an office because they think they're selling something. If you think you're offering something, your entire mindset changes. So it's really a question of how we get up in the morning. Are we offering value, or are we out there trying to get money?
Ooh, are we offering value, or we're out there trying to get money? Wow. Now, there's a few celebrities that are being interviewed for this feature. Some are like you that came in the industry unknown and that really built a big name for themselves. And others are celebrities in other industries that decided, hey, I'm going to leverage my celebrity by speaking. What's your take on that? Do you feel like there's a right or wrong way? Do you have more respect for folks that started off as a nobody and made a name for themselves? And yeah, what's that? What are your thoughts? Because I've heard some interesting ones.
Look, different strokes for different folks. And I'm not going to critique somebody's entry into the business. My only concern is, are they good? My only concern is, are they providing value? So, I mean, if you made your money or your fame or your glory in selling shoes, and you think you've got a way to help people with their processes by speaking, more power to you. But the question is, can you really transfer it? Or are you speaking just because you sold shoes? So a lot of people are able to transfer it, and that's fine. I think the key always has to be this, Marquesa. Are the people to whom you're speaking gaining knowledge and improving themselves? And is the person who hired you having her or his objectives met? And if that's the case, you're doing a fine job. You know, sometimes I've seen celebrities marched out on stage just so the buyer can say they obtained this person. And, you know, people are on their feet applauding before a word is said. That's okay. I mean, those events are important for some things. But I think that the key thing is whether you're providing value and you're helping people to improve, or you're just collecting money because you can.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. Now, 64 books. You're in the same category somewhere there with Diane Boer. That's a lot of books. And there's some of us out there that are happy to have 1, 2, or 3 books. You've got to have a practice. You've got to have something, Alan, that you can share with us that has made it so easy for you to sit down and put together such an impressive body of work. Can you share with us one of your best practices for doing that?
Well, I actually can. You know, $1 Million Consulting, which you mentioned before, is just right now coming out in its 5th edition. Wow. 25th anniversary year. And I mean, that's Peter Drucker territory, a book on the shelves continually for 25 years in management. I'm very proud of that. And right now, a month before its release, it's something like number 25 on the charts in consulting, or number 14, whatever it is. So here's my suggestion to people. The reason people can't write books, and the reason they have trouble writing in general, is that they self-edit. And every time they go to write a sentence, they worry if it's the right sentence. They worry if it's good enough. If they have 6 points, they worry if it should be 4 points or 8 points. They're concerned about what a reader might say. They're concerned about being rejected. They're concerned about somebody saying, oh, that's silly. I don't give a rap. What I do is I sit down from my head to the screen, and I just touch type, and I put down what I believe in. And it's a freeing experience, absolutely freeing. So people have to accept the fact. See, it's not about humility, but it is about self-esteem. People have to accept the fact that they're experts, if they really are, and they're not pretending. If they're experts, they should be able to express their expertise. As a matter of fact, any of us who are truly experts should be able to walk out on a stage and deliver a speech extemporaneously for an hour. And And if we have to look at notes and memorize, the worst speakers are those who memorize, period, punto. And you heard it here. But if you have to go out and memorize a speech or use notes, you've got a problem. You're not really an expert. You're just delivering a performance. But I can go out and talk about almost anything for an hour. So I think we have to have more confidence in ourselves and understand that we have to tuck our egos away.
Wow. And I would be curious to know, who do you mastermind with? Or do you mastermind with the biggest, smartest minds of the world? You would have to.
I have a global community of thousands of people, and they're in different sort of layers. And so every day I have a laboratory. allensforums.com goes 24/7 with people talking about marketing and fees and ethics and politics and everything. And I run the place. And I'm there a couple of times a day. And these are people literally from, 25, 30 countries. And when I'm going to Australia in June, which is about a month from this interview, and I'm running a session that's $2,000 a person. And I already have 45 people signed up. And I'm telling you that because when you have a global impact, which you can have today with technology, as you couldn't have when I first started in the business, and you have a powerful brand, these things happen. So these people become my laboratory. And I am interacting with the best and the brightest every day, and they keep me on top of my game.
This is amazing. I know one of my coaches for a long time knows you very well, Allie Brown, and she's a celebrity in her own space. So,
Allie Brown is in my coaching program.
Yes, this is what I'm talking about.
The best and the
You don't
brightest.
know, she's like the Oprah of marketing for women.
The best and the brightest. And so Allie Brown and I have worked together. And that's what the world is like. And the best attract the best. And I agree with you. She's extraordinary.
Wow. This is, I'm just shaking all over because I feel like this is a privilege. Another student that's a good friend of mine is known in NSA circles as Diane DiResta. And she's one of my best friends. And as I went through this piece, she says, you got to have Alan Weiss in there. And I'm like, yes, of course I do.
He was on the phone with me this morning.
Really? I love Diane. The biggest heart in the world. 3 adjectives to describe not yourself so much, but your mindset that's gotten you here. Or just 3 words. I won't categorize them. Just 3 words.
I'm going to give you phrases instead.
Okay.
No guilt, no fear, and enjoy the hell out of life.
Oh, I love that. And how can folks that are listening to this that want to become a part of this amazing laboratory that you have, how can they reach out, get in touch with you?
Thank you. That's a nice offer. My website is summitconsulting.com or alanweiss.com. My blog is contrarianconsulting.com. No surprise there. You should look at themilliondollarmaverick.com. Put in or you'll go to a cowboy site. themilliondollarmaverick.com. And in all those places, you will find free video and free audio and free text and all kinds of offers. And you can join my community with absolutely, no expenditure at all, or you can choose to invest and become part in what is the most exciting community for entrepreneurs on the globe.
Wow. Well, thank you for spending time with us. We know your time is tight. I almost fell out of my chair when you said yes to me.
Well, good for you for asking. I mean, I was happy to do it, and it worked out beautifully. So thank you for the great questions, and thank you for this very, very pleasant experience.
Well, thank you, Dr. Alan Weiss, and we'll be talking to you soon.